There are two big factors on the financial side when you look at project economics. One is the size of what a carbon fee might be, and the other is when it takes place. Some companies have done a reasonable job at talking about carbon fees. $40 up to $80 is what I'm hearing. Most of them appear to be far enough out in the future that they don't really impact project economics today. When the financial community realizes that they have to think about closer in financial impacts, they're going to start really discounting the value of some of these fossil fuel companies.
And how does that happen? So that's like, okay, we think that we're going to invest $1 billion in this big oil or gas field, 30 years, it's going to bring a lot of money, that's what drives tech stocks. How does this play out? When does the market realize it?
They're starting to realize it now. People are divesting and reinvesting. I've sold all of my ExxonMobil stock, and I've been reinvesting in renewables.
And you wrote a letter to Rex Tillerson, chairman of Exxon. Tell us about that letter, why you wrote that to him.
Well, it struck me as somewhat ironic in that he was complaining about a water tower that would hold fracking water within sight of his house. And I had just spent several years...
Inside his property, maybe, or inside his house?
Near his house. Within sight, I'm sorry.
As a cartoon waiting to be made there, okay.
Within sight of his house.
Yeah, in sight,
Within sight of his house.
See, I had to get with that with Scottish accent. Where to hide.
And I had been for the past several years arguing that fracking was not a good idea in upstate New York, in part because of things like this infrastructure that were being imposed close to population centers and things like that. So I wrote him a letter suggesting that both he and I could afford to move if fracking came near us, but most of the people couldn't. And I urged him to start looking at renewables.
And you were part of a fracking ban in New York State. Recently, Governor Cuomo banned fracking in New York State. There's not a lot, so how do you think that that's going to ripple out inside the industry? And I'm going to get Angus on how that might impact.
I think the ban within New York State is more symbolic. There wasn't really all that much gas to be had, but it was sort of a battleground. New York is a big media market, and the industry really didn't want to see that go the wrong way. It has now. The ban is pretty well in place, that allowing each individual township to decide whether or not they want fracking. And when you get a lot of townships saying no, that pretty much knocks it out of the state.